So I'm an integrative therapist who helps individuals break free from patterns and rules that hold them back, the I shoulds and I musts. While CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, is absolutely at the heart of my work, really looking at your thoughts, looking at your behaviours, as you'll see today, I love to take an integrative approach, blending evidence-based techniques, so things like compassion-focused therapy, radical acceptance, and I use a lot of imagery work, as you'll see later, to help you move beyond anxiety, self-doubt, everyday struggles. And I'm also trained in somatic attachment therapy, which adds a really fascinating and healing layer to the process, because sometimes it really helps us to understand ourselves and why we do what we do. So today, as you know, we're working through a 5-step therapy framework. I use this with 99% of my clients. It's designed to help you understand the problem that you're facing, see how it's keeping you stuck, and identify your next move. That's my goal for you today. We'll finish with a special exercise, I've given you a hint already, to help you practice responding differently and start feeling more in control. Okay, because I know that a lot of the time that's what we want, control over our minds, a bit of sense of direction, how we're feeling and what we're doing. So I'm going to show you the framework. Some of you may have seen this before, or it may be brand new, but I just want you to take this in for a moment. These are the 5 parts that I've been referring to. We have the situation, the trigger. Sometimes we know what that trigger is. Sometimes we don't. We have the thoughts about the situation, automatic thoughts that we have less control over, some of them, than we realize. And some of them we have way more control over them than we realize as well. And we need to kind of be able to recognize the difference. When is it an automatic thought out of my control? And when is it that I'm worrying, ruminating, and going over and over and over something? Okay, I want you to take that bit away. Our feelings, how we feel, the emotions that you feel. What are you feeling most of the time? But using this framework, what we're asking is, in this particular situation, this particular trigger, when you're having these certain thoughts, how does that leave you feeling? And I'll give you some examples going forward. We then have behaviors and urges. When we have these thoughts and we feel a certain way, that makes us want to do a certain thing. We get the urge to act in a certain way. And at the same time, in response to this situation and the thoughts and the feelings and the behaviors and the urges, we have a natural physical reaction. If we are in quite a negative state, we're going to feel that anxiety in our body, or that numbness. We're going to feel that physical reaction in our body. What I really want to highlight here is that the arrows are interconnected with each other. That means that these areas, they influence each other. The thoughts that you have day to day and in your current situation are influencing how you feel, what you do, and how you feel physically. Feelings is the emotions, the physical is like heart rate, that knot in your stomach. As well as what you do is going to influence your thoughts, the feelings, the physical, they feed each other. We, in any given situation, have a reaction, and that reaction can be divided into these 5 parts. We get overwhelmed by all of it at once, and we don't step back and really think about, okay, what are the thoughts I'm having and how's that making me feel? And does that explain why I want to act in this way? The fact that I'm behaving in this way, is that contributing at all to how I'm feeling or the thoughts that I'm having? Because sometimes they're misaligned. Sometimes we can be having the thoughts that we want change, that I am good enough. We might be listening to the affirmations, but our behaviors are not aligned with that. And that's going to affect how we feel. So these are the 5 areas. The really amazing thing about this framework is that when we interrupt one of these areas, it changes all of them. So if we begin to change how we behave, it can influence our thoughts. If we monitor what we're thinking and how we're thinking, it can change what we do and how we feel. So with that, that's a bit of the explanation. Really great to use with clients because it helps me to understand the person more, but most importantly, it helps you to understand yourself more and to take on the observer role. That's another one of my goals, is to really help you to take on the observer role of your situation. Sometimes just that soothes us, and that then gives us enough room to breathe and figure out our next step. And remember, that's what we want. We want our next step. Okay, good. Thank you. So that's making sense so far. So what we want to do now, any other comments? Is it making sense to other people? What we want to do now is we actually want to look at your situation, right? That's why you're here. As we go through these different areas, you might be like, I don't know. Anxious attachment, for example, often can feel really disconnected to feelings, doesn't have the vocabulary for the feelings, doesn't like the physical sensations. It's partly why it's so overwhelming. Someone who procrastinates and keeps himself, focused on other tasks that aren't as important may not be able to see that in their behaviors because it's so automatic. You're going to meet yourself here without judgment. And if there is an area that you struggle with because you're an individual, that's okay. You wait until we get to the next one and you give that a go instead. Because this is really why I'm an integrative therapist, because it's not one size fits all. That's something I really, really believe. And if I'm working with you, or we're working through this together now, and you struggle with the physical sensations, then we don't start there. We start where you have got access to. If you've got access to your thoughts. Sometimes I work with people who say, I have no idea what I was thinking. We might not start there. We might start with your behaviors. So you just be curious about what comes up for you as we do this, okay? Maybe it'll stay there. Okay, so the very first thing, this is where you need your pen and paper now. You're going to get more out of this if you use your pen and paper. I want you to consider the situation that you find yourself in that really heightens your current difficulty. And what you have the choice here to do is to think of a recent time where you were procrastinating, feeling anxious, chasing someone, that you were feeling low in mood, that you were struggling. You can think of a recent specific time and we can use that. Or if you are unable to think of a specific time, then you might think more generally. So I'm going to give you some examples as we go around this as well. When you've got your situation, if you want to share it in the chat box with each other, you're very welcome. So we're going to think about the thoughts that we have in response to this situation. The thoughts that you have, that inner dialogue is really important. So the thoughts are the words and stories that run through your mind. Your thoughts can come so fast, automatically, that you don't even notice them. They're just there. You're just feeding them, believing them. From the moment that you wake up to the moment that you go to sleep, we're having thousands and thousands of thoughts a day. And remember the framework, they're influencing how we feel and what we do. And if they are automatic and we are just on autopilot, it's going to be having a big impact on us. They come so fast, and when you feel anxious, there are certain patterns that you're going to fall into. And when you feel low and when you feel stuck and whatever problem that you're having as well, often your mind is going to jump to the worst case scenario. You might find yourself comparing, catastrophizing, mind reading, thinking about the past. Now, a key takeaway here, if you take this away, I'll be happy. Your thoughts are not facts. Your thoughts are not facts. So many of them, the critical thoughts, the jumping to conclusions, and it's not just thoughts, sometimes it's images. Sometimes you're seeing how things are going to play out and it's not facts, but you're acting like it's facts. The assumptions that you're making, you're reacting, you're going through that 5 areas model like this is a fact. The goal is not to stop your thoughts. The more you try and stop your thoughts, the more you will be overthinking about a specific thing. That is, one of the main challenges that we have is we try to stop what we're thinking, and that enhances it. What we want to do is notice your thoughts. We want to question them. We want to challenge them. We want to choose how to respond to them, become the observer. So my question to you, because I want you to start drawing out this framework now. So you've got your situation. Now I want you to consider in that situation, in your main difficulty that you've been having, when you are activated and triggered, what thoughts or images go through your mind? Identify anything that goes through your mind at this specific time in the recent example that you're using. What were you thinking about? What were you noticing? What assumptions were you making? What were you remembering from the past? Notice the thoughts that you are having, become the observer of your mind. That is one of the most incredible skills that we can have, is to become the observer, to notice them, so that we can question them, so that we can see them on paper and go, wow, no wonder I felt a certain way. So the examples that we're going to have is the situation. I text someone and they have not replied so far for 3 hours. The thought I'm having is, this is unusual. I must have done something wrong. I've only shared in this example the initial thought because we know how much they can spiral, right? This is the automatic first thought I had. I text someone, they've not replied so far for 3 hours. This is unusual. I must have done something wrong. That is going to impact how you feel. In this case, I start to feel worried. I start to feel anxious. I start to feel sad. That's actually going to influence more how I think. That's where the thoughts are then going to really spiral. And then the worries are going to become, or the feelings are going to become more emotional, more intense, because they're interlinked, remember? So take a moment, reflecting on those thoughts, fill in your own area around the feelings. How, in this situation and having these thoughts and images, did you begin to feel? What I know is, now that we look at our thoughts in this situation, now we look at what was going through our mind, it makes sense that we felt this way. That makes so much sense. Of course, I feel this way when I'm having these thoughts. And because that is going to influence my thoughts, of course, it makes sense that my thoughts became even more intense and catastrophized. So take a moment to be understanding to yourself, because we haven't even got to the next parts yet. If you are someone who has struggled to identify the exact thoughts or the feelings, maybe you don't have the vocabulary for feelings as much, that's okay. What you can do is, after this, start to use this model to become more familiar with thoughts and feelings. And side note, if you Google what's it called? The feelings wheel. Google feelings wheel. It will give you lots of vocabulary for feelings. And I'm going to mention my 21-day challenge soon. And that is included in the 21-day challenge to help you with your feelings. Okay, next, behaviors and urges. Behaviors, this is in this moment, in this situation, you're having these thoughts, you're having these feelings, it's all happening very fast. It is really overwhelming. You're not feeling like yourself. And as you go from 0 to 10, it's going to impact what you want to do, what your body wants to do. And something, maybe another part, an inner child, is going to take over and get in the driver's seat. We lose ourselves. We become less and less ourselves. And the behaviors are what you actually do or avoid doing in response to the thoughts and feelings. The urges are the impulses or wants that drive your behavior. I just want to check. I just want to call them. I just want to do this. I just want to figure this out. I just want to speak to this person. When you're anxious, behaviors and urges often aim to make you feel safer. So in the short term, it might be that we feel like we're getting some relief, we're getting some certainty. However, it often keeps things going. So we feel like we've got more control because we're checking, we're avoiding, we're people pleasing, but it's pushing us further and further away from the person that we want to be, the cycle we want to be in. So we get the short-term relief, but they keep the anxiety going. The goal is to notice your urges, pause, and choose a response instead of reacting automatically. So do you see, when we're in a situation, if we just pull out the 5 areas model and think, right, okay, what's happening for me here? We're going to become the observer. We've got a bigger gap to respond in a way that we want to. Okay, so when you're triggered in the situation that you're looking at, the current problem that you have, when you're having these thoughts, you're having these feelings, what do you do? And what urges do you experience? Meet yourself with curiosity. Don't judge yourself. I know that some of the things we do can be embarrassing, they can be out of character, or they can just feel like we're not being like true to ourselves, we're playing small. In this current problem, what are the behaviors and urges that you experience? Get them on paper. In my example, where I'm feeling worried, anxious, and sad because I'm having the thought that I must have done something wrong, I start to check my phone. I find another reason to message because I really want to check if I've done something wrong. And I'm replaying events in my mind. And that might sound like thoughts, but it's a pattern of thoughts. It's something that we actually end up doing. We end up ruminating, we end up worrying. And that's then how we spend our time. So it becomes a behavior. So checking my phone, finding another reason to message, replaying events. Now, think of the arrow. Because I'm doing all of these things, and maybe I check my phone or I replay the events, and then I remember something, oh, well, they did look at me funny that time. And so then that's going to influence my thoughts. That's going to make the worry even more overwhelming. So those arrows where they're interlinking are so key. We were in this situation and our reaction adds to the suffering. And remember, a lot of this is not based on fact. And it's based on limiting beliefs and old stories, experiences from the past, not who you are today or who you desire to be. When we are in this cycle, we have a natural physical reaction. I highlight the word natural because I read something recently in some research that said, it was from like the 90s, so this could have changed, but I was reading about human beings and our 3 top fears. And you could have a guess. One of them is the negative perception from other people, so being judged negatively. Another is injury, death, health issues. And the third I thought was really interesting, and I actually didn't expect. As soon as I read it, I thought that makes so much sense. My clients say this to me all the time. And I really mean that all the time, maybe weekly. We're afraid of the physical sensations of anxiety, and we're afraid of what it means. We're afraid of it meaning we're going crazy, that we're going to lose control. So this is actually a really key part to recognize as well, because if you're feeling sick, tense, tired, or panicky, we want to be able to be with that. This is where my somatic work comes in. We want to be with those physical sensations. And reminder again, Stuck to Secure, my 21-day challenge, you will get the chance to work on each area. So we will be with the sensations as well. So looking at your 5 areas model, fill in the last box for yourself. What physical sensations do you experience that may well be uncomfortable when you are in this current problem, in this current situation? And by the way, that is allowed to say numb, nothing. I feel like I feel nothing. That's a feeling. Yeah, that's a sensation. Numbness, nothingness. It's a sensation that we can be with as well. Whatever your experience is, we can be with. Have a look at your 5 areas and just see if there's anything that you would add, anything else that's coming up now that you look at it, any other thoughts or images, feelings, behaviors, triggers. What triggers this off? Is there anything that you've not identified there? Like looking at the situation, you might think, well, was there any particular smells or sounds or people or places that played a part in this as well, that heightened the thoughts and the feelings? Whatever's on the paper, don't be afraid of it. Life is tough. Looking after our well-being and our mental health, well, it takes skill, takes effort. It's not the easiest thing. Like I said, it's not the easiest thing. It takes more effort than we sometimes expect to change our thoughts, to change our behaviors, and not only effort, practice and consistency. So whatever you see on the paper there, take a deep breath towards yourself. Have some compassion for yourself. Okay, when you look at your completed framework, and you can put anything in the chat box as well, what stands out to you the most? It's important to reflect here because I want you to consider your next moves. When you look at your completed framework, what stands out to you the most? In order to be the best version of you, what needs to change in this cycle? And that can be more than one thing, or it can be one clear thing. And I'm not saying that you need to know how, I'm just asking you what needs to change in this cycle. And be fair with yourself, because you can't change what can't be changed. So be really fair with yourself. If you could respond differently in one area, which would you choose first, and what small step could you take today? And what would it mean to you to break this cycle? I could change my reactions, I think. Okay, which part of your reaction? Because the 5 areas is a reaction. So where would you start with that reaction? Is there one area that you feel like, I'd go there? Behavior. So you see that it's the behavior that you could zone in on a bit. Okay. If you're not too sure about what area, because at the moment I just know it's my reaction, then this next exercise can help you. So let's share the screen. I need to catch and question my thoughts immediately. Okay, great answer. Immediately is the ideal. Our goal is that we will catch them immediately. Some areas in your life, you'll catch them immediately. Areas that are more triggering, that could be difficult. It might be that you don't catch it immediately, and that's okay, the soonest that you can. But what I will tell you is that more that you practice tools and recognizing and using this framework, you can get to the immediately, certainly in some areas of your life as well. I'm going to just let you know about Stuck to Secure, and then we're going to do the exercise. So it's a 21-day challenge. It is designed to smash the patterns keeping you in overthinking, guilt, and self-doubt. You'll replace them with habits that finally let you live and enjoy what you have. Okay. The idea is that you get 20 tools and bringing it all together, because over 21 days, each day you get a new tool every single day. Plus you'll have access with me to a live mindset reprogramming sessions over the coming months, because you'll get long access beyond the 21 days, and community. You get support from me as you go. So there's a little community space that's private. It's not like Instagram or anything. And you can leave comments, you can leave questions, and I check that regularly and get back to you. If you want to join that, you're so welcome. I'd love to work closer with you. I've run it twice already. Feedback has been incredible. And basically what we do is we go through each of the 5 areas. So the 21 days is divided into the 5 areas, and you get tools focusing on each one. So you get to strengthen the area that you most need to interrupt, and the other areas as well. Right, what we're going to do is I want you to take a deep breath. Close down your eyes if you feel comfortable, because we're going to use a visualizing and imagery technique to strengthen your plan of what you need to do next. Okay. Bring to mind your situation that you've just worked through. The situation that feels tricky, stressful, where you feel stuck. See it clearly. See your reaction that you've just looked at on paper, the thoughts, the feelings, the urges. See yourself in that reaction. And now I want you to zoom out on yourself. Relax towards yourself. Release any judgment, release any tension. And I want you to see yourself noticing your anxious thoughts. Imagine yourself paying attention to those thoughts. Imagine yourself realizing that they're stories, catching them, and choosing to think in a new way that supports you to be less reactive, supports you to be calm, supports you to make choices. See yourself, what happens in your vision as you begin to think in a more balanced way. And now I want you to zoom in and really feel it. Now I want you to imagine it, feel it as if it's real. Notice your body and your emotions as you have these new thoughts. Take a deep breath. Feel any tension release. Notice your heart area open. Your energy becomes lighter. And you're believing and having fresher, calmer thoughts. Notice the urges and the impulses in your body that begin to kind of fade away. You notice the old urges, but they're so much more in the distance than they used to be. Instead, you feel able to respond in a way that feels appropriate, that feels good to the situation, and see yourself acting in this new way. Feel what that feels like. You're responding with calm, with confidence. Allow yourself to imagine yourself responding in a way that matches your higher self, your future self, your best current self. Do this for her. Every movement, every word, every action feels aligned with who you desire to be. You feel yourself going from stuck to secure. And now imagine yourself the next day, looking back on how you responded in that moment to that situation, to that trigger, and you feel so much pride for responding instead of reacting. Feel that pride in your body. Feel the confidence. Feel that feeling of, I can do it, I did it. Let that fill your body, fill your mind, drive your future. Soak in that feeling. I want you to take a deep breath in. Let it out. And carry this feeling of pride and possibility and newness into your day after this workshop. Carry it with you. This is who you are. You're here because you're capable of this. You're capable of this newness. And you're ready. I know you're ready because you're here. And when you're ready, come back to the screen. And let me know in the comments a key bit of information. What is one new thought or behavior you will practice with this week? Based on that visualization, based on your 5 areas model, put into words inspired action, share with each other, share with me in the comments if you're on replay. What is the one new thought or behavior that you will practice with this week? When you say it out loud, when you commit to it in that way, you will be more likely to carry it out. I want you to look out for upcoming emails from me, because I will also be giving you ideas on those new thoughts, on those behaviors. But first and foremost, what do you know you need to do? And I want you to be as specific as possible with yourself. I'm going to work on not getting triggered so easily over petty stuff. Okay. So for you, you're going to actually list those petty things out. Petty. I don't know if I would think it's petty, but I want you to really list them out. Stuff where there's no facts, so that you're more prepared, and then use the visualization. Visualize yourself not responding. Visualization is so, so powerful, and you visualize it over and over again. Did this with a client in the week. We visualize something over and over again to build that confidence, and you will give yourself less chance of reacting in the way that you usually do. Oh, I love to see this word. Forgive myself for the feelings that I feel. Forgive yourself, accept yourself. What's to forgive there? There are feelings that you feel. Accept yourself. We accept all parts of ourselves. But if forgive feels like the right word for you, I'll take it. You accept that. You're allowed to feel feelings. We're human. We feel a whole range of emotions. It's wild how much we can feel in 1 minute, let alone a day. If you are interested in Stuck to Secure, so like I say, what we do is we go around the 5 areas model and we go through each area, and you get 20, 21 tools. It depends if you include the bringing it all together on day 21. There you go. Plus you will get access to a community. That's where you can ask me questions and I can support you. Plus you will get access to live, like reprogramming sessions with me. The idea is going to be that I've tried to make it as simple as possible. So if you do find the course is difficult to follow or anything like that, I've made it as simple as I possibly can. What we are trying to do is become the observer and give ourselves the best shot at being able to stop the behavior or change the behavior. And I've given you a range of 20 tools. so that you can work through them and find out, okay, actually this gives me more control. This area gives me a sense like more control. I'm better with thoughts than I am behaviors. And it's such brilliant information to know which area you are better at targeting, even if you have ADHD. And my recommendation to you is the same recommendation I would give to my client the first time that we work through this together, is over the next week or couple of weeks, when you find yourself having an intense reaction, even if it's the same situation yesterday or that you've just looked at today, you can use the 5 areas model to look at your cycle. The more that you do that, the more information and, information that you gather around situations in your life, the more you're going to become the observer. So get off autopilot. So necessary for this. And the more you're going to see patterns, so you're going to be able to be more prepared, and you'll get more and more of an idea of what you need to do next. You need to come off autopilot. So over the coming week, use this model. I am Carly Ann. I am so grateful that you're here, and I will be in touch, and I will be on YouTube and my podcast and Instagram. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you. This has been great. Thank you. I was raised what I should be securely attached, but due to an incident when an infant and past relationships, I'm anxious. Yep. You know that, right? Great that you know that. Crazy. I can feel crazy, can't it? Thank you. Okay. I'll let you go.